Fine, good afternoon to you all students. Hi students, how are you? I hope you all are fine and you all are doing well. I hope by God's grace you all are safe. So pray daily to God for your health, your studies, food, environment, everything. Okay? So warm greetings to you all students. Welcome to our today's online class. This period is computer science for you. So now we are studying about which chapter students? Chapter 4. So what's the title of your chapter? Algorithmic strategies, isn't it? So last class also you have studied something about algorithm analysis, then differentiate between algorithm and program, how you need to write the algorithm, isn't it? Some basic steps you all studied. So last class one important question I said to study. Difference between algorithm and procedure. Have you studied that question? Have you studied or not? So please study daily portions. Okay students, don't waste time. So, so today we are going to see about complexity of an algorithm. Normally, so what's the meaning of complex? So what's the difference between simple and complex? So simple means simply we can, for example, maths you are going to do some problem. Okay, so two problems you have. So one problem you know to do. So that problem you will think, so that it is very simple to work it out. So another one problem will be there. By seeing the problem itself, you are thinking it's very tough to solve. How I can be able to solve that problem. So that's the complex. So likewise, you are writing algorithm also having complexity. So what are the complex or what are the complexities are there while you are writing an algorithm? Understood? So you are writing one algorithm. Consider the name of the algorithm as A, capital letter A. Understood? So what's the name of the algorithm? Capital letter A. Next, the n is the size of input data. For example, I am telling you are going to add two numbers. Okay, you are going to add how many numbers? Two numbers. So, two numbers you are going to add. The name of the algorithm you are giving us A. Okay, what's the name of that algorithm? A. Then n is the size of input data. So you are going to add two numbers mean. So what's the size of input data? How many inputs you need? How many inputs you need only? Two inputs you need. Isn't it? So you are going to add two numbers means you should need how many inputs? Two inputs. So what's the size of input data? N. So what's the value of n now? 2. Understood? So to determine the complexity of algorithm, so the complexity of algorithm is determined by two factors. Okay, so based on the two factors only you are going to design the efficient of an algorithm. That means how efficient this algorithm will be. Understood? So what are the two factors mean? Time factor and space factor. Okay, so what are the two factors? So what are the two complexity? Time factor as well as space factor. Okay, so time factor means, so how we are calculating the time. For example, you are going to add two numbers I said. Okay, so how many operations you are required to add two numbers? Only one line, isn't it? For example, adding two numbers means A plus B. Only one operations. That is only one operations you are going to do. Same way, if you are going to add 100 numbers or 50 numbers. 50 numbers means how many operations will require, just to think it out. So 50 times you need to add, isn't it? So based on the comparison or based on the operations you are using in that algorithm. Okay, so based on that operations only it will determine or it will count how much time it is required for this algorithm needs to compute. Understood time factor? So time factor is mainly measured by counting the number of operations. So number of two, if you are adding two numbers means only one operations will be there. Adding 50 numbers means such a kind of operations will be there. So based on that you need to calculate the time factor. Okay, next one is the space factor. So space factor means nothing but, so first itself we are studying space. So space means memory space in the computer. So if you are adding two numbers means A and B. So after adding the two numbers, the result will be stored in the memory. That already you know, isn't it? So same ways, so space means how much space particular algorithm will require. You are writing on algorithm, so that particular algorithm will require how much space to store the variable. That is called which factor? Time factor. Understood? So sorry, space factor. Okay, so the complexity of an algorithm is calculated or determined by how many factors? Two factors. What are they? Time factor and space factor. Time factors determine how many operations you are going to do in the algorithm. So based on that, you are going to determine the time. Space means how much memory space it will took to store the particular things in the memory. Understood? Okay. The same thing only, they are giving complexity. Same only, the same thing only, they are giving in different meaning. Okay, time complexity and space complexity. There they have given us factors, here they are giving us space complexity. Okay, so here they are telling time complexity means same only, number of steps taken by algorithm to complete the process. Same example you take. So if you are going to add two numbers, mean how many steps you need? For example, adding two numbers. So first line you will give input. For example, A comma B comma C. A and B for two numbers, two inputs, and C is for storing the result. So next line you will write A plus C equal to A plus B. So second line. Third line, what your answer you will get? So C equal to the particular answer. So how many steps will be there? Totally 3 steps, isn't it? The same thing if you are going to add 50 numbers or 60 numbers. Okay, if you are going to add 50 numbers or 60 numbers, whether you will record, whether you will write only 3 steps to complete the adding 60 numbers? No. So it will require what? Some more steps to complete. So that only based on the steps, how many number of steps you are taking, based on that you are going to calculate what? Time complexity. Understood? Okay. Next one is space complexity. So what do you mean by space complexity? Already you have studied space factor, isn't it? Space factor means how much memory it is required to store particular things, isn't it? So in algorithm, how many variables you are using, for example, for that variables, how much memory it is required to store in the memory. Based on the memory space, you are going to determine the space complexity. So this space complexity will be determined by two factors. Understood? Again, the space complexity depends upon how many factors? Two factors. What are they? Means fixed part and variable part. Okay, space complexity is determined by how many factors? Two factors. What are the things? Fixed part as well as variable part. Okay, so first one is the fixed part. So fixed part is nothing but, okay, so total how much space is required to store particular data and variables. For example, same example you take, adding of two numbers. So how many variables are there totally? A, B and C. So how much space it will took? A. For a variable A it will took one space. For a variable B it will took one space. Then for storing the result C it will took some space, isn't it? So it's a fixed thing. So you know, adding adding two numbers and storing the result you need only 3 space. That's a fixed. Okay. So fixed part means it will calculate how many, based on that algorithm, this algorithm will take, this is the total space. First it will calculate. This is the total space required by this algorithm. So because you are using this much of data and variables in that algorithm. Okay. For that only they are telling in the second. For example, simple variable. That only example I said. Adding of two numbers. How many variables you need? Adding of two numbers? A and B. Isn't it? Two variables and storing result C. Okay. So and also consonants. For example, some constant values and all you will use. That is called constant. So some constants also you will use, isn't it? So that also you are going to store in the memory space. So fixed part means always it's a fixed. First is seeing the algorithm itself, you are going to fix this much of variables and constants you are going to use in the algorithm. So this much of space is required to store. Okay. Next one is the variable part. So variable part is different from fixed part. Okay. So very important this one. Listen, variable part means here also you are going to calculate how much space required by the variable, but it will change. That means memory space, the storing variables for the memory space, size of the memory will change based on your problem and its iteration. What do you mean by iteration? For example, so last year you have studied the loop concept, isn't it? For I equal to 0, for example, I am giving for I equal to 0. Same thing only, for adding two numbers you can write simply A equal to 5, B equal to 10, C equal to 10 plus 5. So answer you will get is 50. So within a 3 steps you will get answer. Same thing, you are going to add 15 numbers. So like this 50 times you are writing means whether it is easy to calculate? No. So to avoid that one, you are using which concept? Loop concept, isn't it? So look how you will write. For example, you need to add 1 to 50 numbers means you will give for int I equal to 1, I less than or equal to 50. So how many times the loop needs to execute? Nearly 50 times, isn't it? So based on that, the size will get vary. So that is iteration. Based on 50 iterations will be there means, so 50 iterations, 50 space will be needed for the memory. So that's a variable. Based on the iteration of an algorithm, the space will get changed. Understood? But fixed part means you are not giving any iterations or loop concept or anything. So in algorithm you are giving. So only please listen, understand that example and study. Adding of two numbers means it's fixed. Only two variables and storing one result. So 3. But variable part means you are giving in a loop concept, that is iteration. So iteration will be changed based on your input value. So the space will also remains changed. So example they are giving. So recursion to find the factorial of a given number. Last year you have studied, no? So likewise anything you can write factorial of a given number. If you are giving 5 factorial means how many times the loop needs to execute? 5 times. So 5 different values you will get. Understood? So space complexity also depends on how many factors? 2 factors. What are they? Fixed part and variable part. Okay. The next one is the efficiency of an algorithm. So efficiency of an algorithm, how you are going to calculate means number of computational resources used by the algorithm. Okay. So number of resources used by that algorithm. Okay. So number of resource means, for example, okay, your computer is connected by a printer. For example, I'm telling you, your computer is connected by a printer, a scanner, a projector, speaker, etc. etc. Lot of devices. Okay. So efficiency of an algorithm means, so all the devices are connected, but your need is only to print something. Understood? Listen carefully. Your need is to only print something. So for printing something, so whether you will on the speaker, whether you will use the projector, whether you will use the scanner, no, only that printing machine is alone you need to on and you will take printout, isn't it? But lot of resources will be there, but based on your needs, you are going to use only the particular resource alone. Same concept only, listen. So efficiency also algorithm mean, so number of computation, a lot of resource will be there. So based on your algorithm only require the particular resource. So you are going to use that resource alone. That is called efficiency. Okay. So efficiency of an algorithm is determined by usage of different resource. Okay. First you are using the first resource. You will determine one efficiency. The second. So the efficiency of an algorithm is measured based on which one? How much resource you are using. Okay. So the maximum. So if we are saying it's a good efficient algorithm, when you will say a good efficient algorithm mean minimize our resource usage. Okay. So for that only that example I said, lot of devices are connected to your computer. Your need is only to take printout. So you are using only the printer alone. So if you need to take printout, whether you will use all the resource, no, it's not a efficient. So based on your wish, you would need to use what? Only which resource you require. That is the minimize resource usage. Okay. So lot of resource will be there, but based on your algorithm, you should use what? Or you are going to minimize the resource usage. Understood? Okay. Last line is very, very important. One more question. So the way of designing algorithm is called dash. Algorithmic strategy. Okay. So the way you are designing algorithm is called what? Algorithmic strategy. Okay. So next one is method for determining efficiency. So by using what are the methods or using what are the factors you are going to determine the efficiency of an algorithm. Okay. So efficiency, a word is there means always you need to use, remember about two things. What are the things? How the space, how many memory space or how much memory space you are using and how much time you are taking to complete the algorithm, isn't it? So listen, the same program, one program will be there. So the program you are going to, for example, C++ program is where you need to execute in C++. Java program is where you will execute in Java. PHP means where you will execute PHP. So likewise, the program you are executing in different environments. Okay, and next you are going to calculate how much time required to the particular program will take, how much time to run the particular program. Okay, so the execution, that is the running time, is depend upon what are the factors. Okay, so while you are running the program, so it will take some time to execute. So time to execute means what are the factors is depending on, or based on what are the factors it will took some time to execute. Okay, what are the factors means, listen. First one is the speed of the machine. Okay, for example, you are running one program your computer, so your computer capacity is 2 GB RAM, 500 GB hard disk. Based on that, the same program you are running in another one computer, that's 4 GB RAM, hard is going to be like this. So 2 GB RAM, that is somewhat less. Okay, that running capacity is less, but the same program if you are running in 4 GB RAM means it will, the running capacity is somewhat fast. Okay, so it will depends upon the speed of the machine. Next, compiler and other system software. So what type of compiler you are using, or which operating system you are using, maybe Windows XP or 7 or 8 or anything. Then which programming language you are using. Then volume of data means how much memory space you are using. So based on these factors only you are going to determine what? Efficiency of an algorithm. Okay. Next one is space-time trade-off. Okay, so space and time, already you are studying about space factor and time factor. So space time trade-off mean, so if you are saying the particular algorithm is a efficient algorithm or good algorithm, how we can say means it will always take, it will only take a little space by spending more time. When we can say the particular algorithm is efficient time, always it will took only less memory space to store by spending more time. So different factors are there. Listen, first thing, algorithm will took only some space in the memory, but it will, you need to spend more time to do the algorithm. Okay, so next one is some algorithm will take less memory space and less time to execute. Okay, which one is the best algorithm you see? Some algorithm will took less space but it will took more time, but some algorithm will took only a less space and less time. Which one is the best one? Algorithm which took less space and less time will get a, you are saying as a good algorithm. Understood? So next one is asymptotic notations. Very important 3-mark question. Very important 3-mark question this one, but somewhat tough only, but just like a theory, that theorem you need to study. So to calculate the time and space complexity, they are going to give 3 notations. Okay, so they are going to give how many notations? 3 notations. What are they means? Big O, big omega, and another one is there, big theta. Okay, what are 3 asymptotic notations? Very important 3-mark question. What are 3 asymptotic notations? Big O, big omega, and big theta. Okay, so big O, listen carefully. Now it's a please study. Big O means it will always represent or describe worst case of an algorithm. So in an algorithm, which will be a worst case. So big O is always used to describe what? Worst case of an algorithm. Okay, that means it will took, maybe it will took a huge space and huge time like this. Some worst case of an algorithm will determine by which one, which factor? Big O. Then big omega. Okay, so this big omega is just a reverse of the big O. So if the big O is determining the worst case of an algorithm means big omega will determine what? Best case of an algorithm. Which one is the best case? Worst case and best case, they are giving us upper bound and lower bound. Okay, suppose if big O is using to find best case means big omega is used to find their best case means worst case. Okay, just opposite. The next one is big theta. Okay, so big theta means, listen, so worst case and best case is equal, same condition. That is worst case and best case, how you are going to determine, or which factor you are defined? Lower bound and upper bound. So lower bound is equal to upper bound means you can say that's the formula you need to study. No other way, somewhat tough only. Anyway, you need to study. So what's the formula means? O of n log n and omega of n log n. So that is determining the, first one is for determining what? O factor, big O factor. So O of n log n. Then omega of next factor, n log n. So if both have the same, that is lower bound, and this big O and big omega is equal to means what complexity you need to calculate? Theta of n log n. Okay, so always the value will fall between what? This theta of n log n. Okay, somewhat tough only. Anyway, you need to study just like a theorem. Okay, what are 3 asymptotic notations? Big O, big omega and big theta. Big O means always it will determine worst case of an algorithm. Big omega means just opposite of big O. It will determine big O will determine the best case, means it will determine worst case. Big theta means both best case is equal to worst case, means so it will, you are going to calculate a formula. What's the formula? O of n log n and omega of n log n means it needs to fall with which value equal to theta of n log n. Understood? So this question is very important. 3 mark question. So after completion of this session, you should study and write this asymptotic notations. Question very important question. Okay. So next class, that is from that next week class onwards, you are going to, that's the first part of the chapter. One more topic is there. We'll get over with the one more topic. Okay. The next week class onwards, very important, because all the 5 mark important questions are there from the second chapter. So till this first part, you will get 2 mark and 3 mark question. Okay students, so study this asymptotic notations question. Today's homework is you need to study and write this question in your notebook. Understood? Thank you students. Take care.